There's this classic rule in business that you shouldn't talk about your competition, but is that still applicable today? The most typical way that business leaders think about competition can be summed up by the business icon Jack Welch that once said, number one, cash is king. Number two, communicate. Number three, buy or bury your competition. For many, competition is the central driver in business that usually is seen through the winner takes all or zero sum lens. Most businesses do not talk about their competition publicly, but on the rare occasion that brands do speak their competitor's name, it's usually negative, like an attack ad. There are countless historical references to this behavior on billboards, TV commercials, and digital marketing campaigns. You might also be surprised to learn that attack ads are not always as popular as you might think, and they're not always that successful. Whether it's an advertising campaign, a sales pitch, saying another brand's name only serves to bring attention to them, add credibility to their competitive position, and gets the person thinking about them. You might even reinforce the prospect's reason for buying that competitor's product. Plus, insulting your customer, since they likely chose that product for a personal reason, slaps them in the face. Now, a little around the COVID 19 effect here, over the last 2 years, obviously, there's been a lot of negative energy bubbling up across America. We're talking about politics, racial tension, gender rights, worker rights. All those things are kind of going on right now. So instead of brands adding to the hate and negativity that's going on, maybe brands should help to lead us towards a more civil discourse. Furthermore, maybe there's even a better payoff for being nice. While Jack Welch might be the business spirit animal of many, there's an alternate way to think about business competition. There's always competition in the world, but you don't have to be enemies. You can empower each other. You might see that ideology as weak, but consider arguably one of the most competitive businessmen in the world, Gary Vaynerchuk, who often says, you can build the biggest building in town without having to tear others down. If you are a brand, it turns out that praising your competitor, saying nice things about them, can boost your own sales. I found a recent study by Keisha Cutright, a marketing professor from Duke's Business School, where she and her team ran nearly a dozen experiments with almost 40,000 people to show that a brand that complements its competitor ends up boosting its own reputation and sales. One of my favorite experiments that they did do was where they created a fake tweet sent from Kit Kat to Twix. It congratulated Twix on 54 years of business and admitted to thinking Twix was actually delicious. About a week and a half later, they checked in with the consumers that saw that tweet. They asked about them and that candy purchases. And turns out that 34% more were likely to buy Kit Kat compared to the control group. Importantly, Twix sales didn't increase, even after Kit Kat praised that candy for being delectable. This partly gives some additional color to a famous example where brands were publicly positive to one another. Kit Kat challenged Oreo to a game of tic-tac-toe for consumers' affection. This was a cute, playful move that not only responded to the fan, but also engaged with another brand. Oreo rose to the challenge and responded to its own visual tweet of a bitten Kit Kat on the tic-tac-toe board along with cheeky hashtag give Oreo a break. Did this help increase Oreo's sales based on the above experiments? Honestly, quite likely. Now, there's another example that's kind of going on right now of creating brand friends, and this is through Domino's local surprise promotion. This is where Domino's gives delivery drivers $100,000 worth of $50 gift cards to local restaurants in select markets. Here's the interesting thing, though. Domino's is also mashing it up with an attack ad strategy towards its real competitor. Domino's is highlighting the fees restaurants pay for third-party delivery companies like DoorDash and Uber Eats. Domino's also urged customers in a national TV commercial to skip the delivery apps and order directly from a local restaurant if they're not ordering from the pizza chain.
So the best way that customers can support local restaurants now is go back to those restaurants directly. Don't use delivery apps.
Domino's increasingly views these third-party delivery companies as major competitors. Domino's has taken a stand against third party delivery, refusing to use such services, even as rivals eagerly use them to supplement their own services and gain access to new customers. So, why does creating brand friends work? And how can you kind of replicate this? Brands are starting to realize that they can help one another. Brand partnerships, both organic and strategically planned, can be beautiful as two businesses combine skill sets and audiences while working to their respective goals. Interactions between brands and not just their customers signal who you are as a brand by being more human. How do you do that? Kind of how do you praise the competition? Social media has made this all a bit easier because you don't need to spend huge budgets on television ads. I'm not sure there's a best practice here because both superficial and being kind of more specific examples can be received extremely well by consumers, especially the most skeptical of these brands. Either way, praising your competitors seems to change consumers' attitudes and their overall purchasing behavior. When people see that your brand is praising another brand, they automatically think that you're now this warmer, fuzzier brand that they can trust because you would put yourself on the line for another brand. You must be a brand that they can trust. Don't be afraid to do this occasionally, but also know that there's a too much effect as consumers will start to question your sincerity. So, will we see more brands starting to deploy this tactic strategy? I sure hope so because I believe businesses have a large role to play in our society and we can use some more positivity right now. If you enjoyed this YouTube video, hit that like button to support me. Also, help me get to 2,000 subscribers by hitting that subscribe button. Almost 70% of you watching this right now aren't subscribed to me, which is getting better, but still makes me really sad. So please kind of change that and hit that subscribe button for me. But thank you again for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next one.